Good evening. Welcome to our Municipal Council agenda for Wednesday, May the 22nd, 2019. I'd like to call this meeting to order at this time and ask if there's any declarations of interest. Seeing none, I will move to presentations, and I have none listed here. Mr. Clark, do we have any that I'm not seeing?
No, that's correct, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, and that would be the same for deputations.
Correct again.
Thank you very much. We're down to item E, and that's committee recommendations, and that's on pages 4 to 6. Councillor Roy DiClemente.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to pull number 102, which is the DC development charges background study and related recommendations for a separate recorded vote, please. And I'm happy to move the other ones as well.
Okay, so I will have a separate vote for all except 102. Any questions, comments on those? I need a seconder. Councillor Foster. All those in favor? And that's carried. 102, and that is the development charge background study. Do you want to speak to that?
Just that it was a tremendous amount of work and lays some foundation and some work for our the way that our community will build out, and financially it's a big deal, and so I felt that it was important that we have a recorded vote for this matter.
Very good. Thank you.
And I'm happy to make the motion.
Thank you. And a seconder for that, Councillor Crone.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Roy DiClemente is requesting a recorded vote on CWC recommendation 2019-102. It's up on the screen before you. Councillor Roy DiClemente, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Crothers?
In favor.
Councillor Crone, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Foster, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Haxon, how do you vote?
Yes.
And the rest of the members are absent, so the motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we are now at the adoption of, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You have 3 recommendations from today's Committee of the Whole meeting. We will put them up on the screen for you. So the first one is the award tender for the 2 pickup trucks. And then your second one is the regional government review. And then the third one is your Bill 108 amendments. And with respect to the regional government review and Bill 108 amendments, we'll deal with those more lengthy resolutions under the resolutions heading later in the meeting. Okay.
Thank you. So we will start with the first one then. Are you suggesting we do them all together? Okay, very good. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Crothers, Councillor Crone. Any questions? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. And we have the F1 is the minutes of May the 7th. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Crothers, Councillor Roy DiClemente. Any questions? All those in favor? And that's carried. Item number 2 is adoption of the council minutes from our special meeting on May the 7th. I have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Foster, Councillor Roy DiClemente. All those in favor? And that's carried. And item number 3 is the adoption of our council minutes held on May the 7th, 2019, a mover and a seconder, Councillor Roy DiClemente, Councillor Crone. All those in favor, and that's carried. We're down to item G, and that's reports. And we have a report regarding Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Committee, and who will be speaking to that? Councillor Crothers, please.
Thank you. I'm the council liaison for the Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Committee, and we have a report for you. I apologize for the lateness of this. This is in reference to a motion that came from the committee to raise the pride flag. We're a new committee, and I'm a new council liaison, and we're figuring out how to get things through the proper processes. But when it was noted that it was on the agenda for York Pride is here to speak to this same issue, we want to make sure that council were fully aware of the advice that was coming from the advisory committee. So this is before you. I'd like to welcome Lena Singh, who's chair of our committee. I think everyone here knows Lena. And Alison Usher, who is a member of our committee, also a staff member, but not our staff liaison. That would be Michelle Collette next to her, who is our staff liaison. And I'd like to thank all of them for their work on putting this together. I'm sure Jacob and Brianne will get introduced in a little bit, but thank you for your help with this as well. So you see before you that the motion was passed at the first meeting of the committee to recommend that council direct staff to raise the flag to commemorate Pride Week in 2019 and going forward. There's not a lot of detail in the motion because we wanted to leave that up to council to decide how, where, when, and I think that's outlined in Jacob's letter to give us a little bit more specificity around that. So this is coming forward for council to see because we feel it's important, given that the surrounding municipalities, the rest of the GSECs, with the exception of King, all raise the flag. York Regional Police, the region does a official recognition as well as our surrounding neighbors, Bradford, West Gwillimbury, Richmond Hill, Vaughan, Markham. So this is something that would send a message if we're not doing it when all the surrounding municipalities are. And I just wanted to take a moment to talk about the flag. The pride flag is a symbol of peace and acceptance and inclusion. And it really came about in response to discrimination and hatred and violence even that has been faced by the LGBTQ community. And these people live, work, and play in our community, and they're part of our community. So when local governments fly the rainbow flag, it's a sign of solidarity. It says that this kind of discrimination is not welcome in our town. I hope that our town will stand with our community and this message and fly the pride flag. And if you have any questions, Lena's here to answer them, or I can take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions? We will be dealing with this report before we will have the correspondence from York Pride Festival. So normally I would probably see it the other way. So, but we are dealing with it in that order. So I'm just wondering if there are any questions, comments from people. I'm not sure if people are aware. We have flown the pride flag a number of years at our flagpole at Woodbine and Ravenshoe. So it's certainly been prevalent, not at our office here for no other reason than we have two flagpoles. And that has been since, I believe it's 2012, we had a discussion regarding flags and proclamations. So Councillor Morton was here at the time. Were you here also?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I actually recall it quite specifically because it wasn't a unanimous vote, but the former Councillor Johnson will probably smile a little bit that I might be the one giving the history lesson for once. But there was, at the time, we were virtually inundated with requests for declarations and flags and so on, and not wanting to say no to some and yes to others, we simply decided that we were going to be a non-proclamation municipality, and that it was actually in the interest of being more inclusive. And ironically, the very last flag that we flew was the rainbow flag, and I think that for me that was meaningful as well. And I know that from a logistical perspective, it's been a challenge to try and find even just, because we only have the two flagpoles. And I think the last time we were discussing this, we were trying to find other meaningful ways to celebrate Pride Week, and we gave direction to staff to help publicize the events that were taking place that weren't in our municipality yet. And that, I think, was kind of where I was trying to find another spot again today, which is if there's a place that we can fly it, and I wasn't even aware that it was up at Ravenshoe and Woodbine, which is in our municipality. If there's a place that we can fly it, great. But I think there's other ways that we can recognize it. Even if we were to change the banner of our EGE News for Pride Week and have a rainbow at the top, or something like that, to recognize that and to signal to everybody who may or may not be driving by our municipal offices or the intersection where the flag is, but to do something that really reflects the entire municipality on a more granular way. That would be where I might send that direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Crone first, and then Councillor Crothers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am quite happy to support this notion of raising the flag. I wore my pride tag in solidarity today. It's 2019, and I can't believe we're still actually having these conversations. And I really support what Councillor Roy DiClemente just said about let's look for other avenues in which to show our support. Thank you.
Councillor Crothers.
Thank you. Having been through this exact same debate at the school board just a couple of years ago, we had 2 flagpoles as well. We ended up erecting a 3rd flagpole, and the cost is not a lot. I brought this up to the committee that this might be one of the pushbacks from council, that there is just the 2 flagpoles. And there was some talk about maybe putting an extra flagpole out in the side here, where we have that lovely new area, and we could fly the flag there and have a bit of a celebration around it. We also talked about other flags that we might raise going down the road, whether it's the autism flag or Sikh Heritage Month, that sort of thing, that would get a group of people here, and it would be a very nice place to host them and to be able to raise those flags. There is a number of people who do reach out asking for flag raisings, and it's very easy to just follow the federal protocol on that. There's a list of ones that they do, and that was what we did at the school board, is just basically cut and paste that into our own policy. So a policy could be written very quickly by looking at our surrounding municipalities and what they do. I don't think it's insurmountable to choose which flags we will raise and which ones we won't. I think that looking for best practices around us would be quite easy. I want to give a shout out to Alison Usher, who put this report together over the long weekend, and I joked with Michelle that you'd probably be able to put a policy together for us overnight as well. So I don't think it's a lot of work, but we would want to get this, because Pride is coming up so quickly, and we do want to put thought into a policy. I think that agreeing to raise the flag now, with the second part of that resolution being that we look at a flag raising policy down the road, would be prudent, and that would be my recommendation to council to overcome the obstacles that we're hearing.
Councillor Roy DiClemente.
I'd like to be clear. I actually don't think there's any debate or pushback at this moment. This is, at least from what I'm hearing, there's messages of support and solidarity. So happy to give direction to staff that we should find a way to not just raise a flag, but also to find a meaningful way throughout our organization. And sure, let's send it to staff and ask for an appropriate policy with respect to the protocols that exist, which was sort of how we had started. And then what happened was we had smaller groups that weren't part of the federal protocol. They were local groups who had come to us, and there were 2 or 3 people who said, "Hey, we'd like," and we said, "This is a lot." So at this point, there's no debate or pushback from my perspective. It's simply, let's find a way to make this work, and let's get staff to put a policy together so that we can have that for consideration.
I would agree with you. I think it was a bad choice of words to say pushback. That's not what I'm hearing up here. I think that because we have been a non-proclamation municipality, we need to go back to staff, ask to have a report come in the next weeks or months to make sure that we perhaps take another look at it. I can tell you that in the last 5 months, we've had 5 requests that I have known of. The Sharon Temple Museum, autism, epilepsy, day of mourning, and English as a second language. And I remember quite clearly that we had probably for every month prior to being a non-proclamation, we probably had 3 for every month that we could have put on a flagpole. I think when we talk about inclusion, we include all of these groups. And the opportunity is now to go back with staff and come up with a policy. You're right, we can't rush it. It is very quick. So I'm hoping that we can take a look at a 3rd flagpole. Funny enough, today I was looking out my window, and there's a flower bed out in our new area that has purple tulips in it. And I thought, wouldn't that be a great spot for a 3rd flagpole? And then I thought, now, would people feel that it was not out in front? I don't really know, but I think that this garden and peaceful area here probably is a better place for the variety of groups that would like us to proclaim and fly a flag. Another thought that I had in talking to Mayor Quirk from Georgina, we share the north side and south side of Ravenshoe with Georgina and East Gwillimbury and the flags, poles that are there. And she was telling me about a flag that they had made that is a town flag, and the rainbow is on the bottom of the flag. All one flag, your town flag on the top and the rainbow on the bottom. And so I've looked into it, and it takes about 12 days to get one made. And I'm wondering if council has an interest that we order that, get it on that flagpole with the Georgina one, because I don't want them to have a better flag than we have. No, bigger flag. Well, ours will be bigger, but and then move with the suggestions of having staff come back at a later time without a rush to start to get a policy in place that, with the thought of being a proclamation community as opposed to a non. And we do have 3 new members of council, so to make sure that those that have not been here before fully understand the ins and outs of what happens with a proclamation as opposed to a non-proclamation. So that would be my suggestions to move forward with this. I might also add, thank you, Councillor Roy DeClemente, for talking about other ways of celebrating. And I have to tell you that last year I participated in the Gay Pride Parade in Newmarket. It is not a Newmarket parade, it is a Northern York region. I had a wonderful time, and it was very welcoming. And it was very much inclusion. The parade was excellent. For those that are interested this year, it is on the 15th of June at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The marshalling area is on Ontario Street at Main, and the parade route from last year, and I imagine it'll be the same, is heading south down to Fairy Lake. And then at Fairy Lake, there were all kinds of booths set up and little tents, pop-up tents, and all kinds of vendors. And it was a wonderful day. I will be doing it again this year, and hope that I have some other members of council with me. So I leave you with that. And I'm sure there's other things that we can find later on to celebrate our diversity. Today we're talking about one particular diversity, but I know this committee is going to be working on a variety of areas that we need to be, we need, as the mandate of the committee, need to address. So with that, I don't know if anybody is interested in what I have suggested, if we've got, oh, go ahead.
I've just sent the clerk, in addition to what he's got here, that staff be directed to find additional ways to celebrate Pride Week from June 7th to June 16th through its internal and external communications. I think even just for
Yes.
our own staff,
Yes.
they need to know if there's something that can be done on the intranet, or
Yes.
maybe our social committee can do something, I don't know. And that staff be directed to acquire a custom East Gwillimbury Pride flag to be flown proudly and in solidarity in the town of East Gwillimbury. I wanted to say that would be larger than than Georgina's, but I thought
Georgina's.
that might be just poking them in the eye a little bit too much. But I thought that we could at least start there. And I believe the clerk also had the fact that we would be referring it to staff for a policy and a report back.
So I've written it down as staff review our proclamation policy and provide a report on moving to being a proclamation municipality. Staff explore the option of having a third flagpole installed. I've said at the Civic Center, but maybe it's not, just at this point, a third flagpole to be installed in the event we move to the option of flying the flags of other organizations. I didn't. But I can. Oh, it's on the bottom, thanks. Any comments, any questions? Councillor Crothers.
I do feel that it's important to raise the flag here at the Civic Center. I think up on the border, it doesn't quite send the message that we want to send to our community. I think that waiting for a staff report to come back, it will miss Pride this year. It'll be 2020 before we are raising the flag here at our municipal offices. All of our surrounding municipalities are flying the flag at their offices, and I think it would send a very inconsistent message if we're not hearing the words of my colleagues up here that everyone is on board for this, but for a policy, but for a flagpole. I think that we need to overcome those, and again, I'll use the word obstacles, and because that's how I'm seeing them. And it's not pushback. I'm not saying pushback. I'm saying these are obstacles that we only have the 2 flagpoles, and that we're under a time crunch. We don't have a policy. These are the obstacles that we need to overcome, and I believe that they can be, and I believe that we could do a flag raising here at the municipal offices in keeping with what the request is, in keeping with what the committee is asking for. I also wanted to respond to the mayor's comments about other forms of diversity, and we've got groups working on all of it. So I think you'll see a lot of great things coming forward with that. This just happens to be the most pressing one, and that's why they wanted to bring it to you, and that's why we have some of the members of the committee here in the audience. I'm not sure that having the banner on the website is a fantastic idea, but it doesn't quite send the same message as that flag flying out in front. When you know the history, when we think back about the history of our LGBTQ community, and we think about the highest instances of youth suicide are in that community, high instances of homelessness from not being accepted in their homes. Someone has said that flying the flag on prominent locations such as a municipal office is one of the lowest cost mental health initiatives that you can do. The cost of a flag is next to nothing, but letting youth know that they are welcome and they are included, and that we are allies with them in their struggles as they're bullied, as they're experiencing violence, as they're reading about violence, to know that we are here proudly flying the flag on our own offices, I think sends such a strong message that this is something that I think is really important, and we have to overcome the obstacles that are before us to make it happen this year, whether it's taking down the EG flag for a week and putting up the Pride flag. I don't think our branding would be at any loss for that. Whether it's expediting getting a flagpole put up, I know they can go up in 10 days or less. I think that these are all things that we should be looking at so that we can celebrate this year.
Comments, questions?
Madam Mayor, I'm just not so sure logistically that'll happen as fast as we think it'll happen. the motion that you've got up there works about 99% of the way. I'm just not so sure you're going to go out and buy and pour a concrete pad and have a proper flagpole put up by June the 7th or June the 6th.
That's also my fear as well. This has come very quickly to us. I think we've addressed most of it, but I'm not sure that we can. If we have a flag flying, I think that's the most important thing. Where it flies is secondary. If we can, we should be able to, but I'm not sure. Councillor? No, I thought, are you, no. Roy DeClemente? No, you're fine, okay. Councillor Crothers?
Respectfully, I don't think this goes most of the way. The committee, what they wanted was a flag flying at the municipal offices, and that was the discussion that we had. I did do the background to find out that, yes, it is possible to get a flagpole put up that quickly. I also know that it is possible to take down the municipal flag and fly the pride flag if that's what we want to do. I don't think this goes almost all the way there. I think this actually misses the point, and the point is flying the flag at our municipal offices. That's what the committee wants. I know that's something that is possible, to have a flag raising ceremony here in East Gwillimbury. You know, all these other things are great on top of that, but if we don't raise the flag here at our municipal offices, then I think we're missing the point of why we're being asked to raise the flag here. So I would like to add another resolution to that. That council directs staff to raise, I'll use the words right from our report, to raise a flag to commemorate Pride Week 2019 at the municipal offices.
Mr. Lumana?
Through you, Madam Mayor, just to try to assist council. So we're blending actually two components of the agenda on this. I think what council was dealing with first is the memo from the Diversity Committee, which I've heard discussions which we've captured that speaks to the existing policy, which certainly part of the diversity memo talked about flying the flag, the rainbow flag going forward. That certainly has something to do with regards to the policy. So staff certainly can take this resolution and go back to look at the existing non-proclamation and flag raising policy and report back. That takes care of the policy. With regards to the correspondence and flying the pride flag in the municipality, I think that's the separate discussion in terms of perhaps location, just to assist.
Thank you. Councillor Roy DeClemente.
I guess I'm confused because I heard you say earlier at our meeting, Madam Mayor, that we could get a custom flag that would have our logo and the rainbow on it. And I think you said it was it 12 days?
12 days.
So we have enough time to get a custom flag here that can be put up in lieu of our municipal flag. Is that not correct? That was my understanding is what we were going to be doing.
I hadn't gone that far in my head. I didn't hear that here.
Well, maybe I jumped to a conclusion, but that was sort of my intent, was that we were going to get a custom flag. It can be done quickly. We have a municipal flag that flies. We'll replace it with our custom municipal flag that will fly. That was my understanding. My
And I-
apologies if I'm
No,
confused.
my head was fly it where the Georgina one is flying. That's, but I hadn't thought about that, and I don't know as far as policy in taking down our town flag, to put up a separate flag when we have not dealt with the non-proclamation issue that we are still in. And that's why I had asked about staff moving forward with that at a later date. Go ahead.
If I may, then perhaps what we should do is we should have our resolution note that we are waiving the policy for just 2019, for just Pride, so that if we decide that we want to remain a non-proclamation municipality, then we can do that, but we've dealt with 2019, and it's just for this one circumstance. Maybe that's the way of doing it, but I think you're absolutely right. We've spent years saying no to people. And it wasn't because we didn't believe that their causes were valuable or important or worth supporting. It was strictly, quite honestly, a workload matter, both for council members, clerk staff to process that correspondence, and then there was also an operational cost with facilities staff who were assigned, others' duties as assigned, which became maintaining the flags and all of that. And so that's why we moved to that declaration. Maybe it's time to change that, as you have indicated. But if this is something that we want to do, then maybe we need to say, we've got this policy, we're waiving it this one time. And that staff will report back to us for future initiatives.
Are you making that motion?
Well, I thought I made the first motion, but there was no seconder, so I don't know where it stands.
Okay. Mr. Webster?
Madam Mayor, if I could make a couple observations, I would. I know that we've had this proclamation. It's a council policy. We've followed the York Region on the lead, and I'm not quite sure if they, at 17,250 Yonge Street, their regional headquarters, whether or not they fly the flag or not. But I think that council does have the ability to waive something on a policy basis, so I think that's a helpful suggestion. I hate to use hockey analogies and compare them to flags, but it's quite common now. It used to be that teams had two sweaters. They had a home and an away, and they now often have a third version that they use. And so I take it that maybe on this specific instance, putting the rainbow stripes on our flag would be sort of akin to a third jersey for this time. The thoughts of maybe using our accessibility entrance, which is really a showpiece for us right now, and possibly having a flag out there, that would, what would be helpful though is if we had it in a policy context, in my opinion, so that we didn't have to debate every time an organization wanted something up. And I think you could also, as a town, have a little bit of fun with it at times. Maybe if the Leafs ever win the cup, you'd fly the Maple Leaf flag out there. And we could, in fact, maybe have discretion to have a Raptors flag up during this exciting time for Toronto and the GTA. And so I think if council wanted to, on a friendly amendment basis, amend the policy, allow for a little discretion here. But I think you have to be mindful of other groups too in the community, because we have said no to many, many groups for many years now. And I think it's important that as a staff team, we work with the diversity committee and inclusion committee to develop a policy so that we know going forward which flags will be flown, to recognize and it would be a standardized methodology. And I think that would also allow for maybe the mayor/CAO to have some discretion on other matters that we may choose to fly the flag or even lower the flag. These things, you never know what may happen in society these days. So that's just a thought from a staff perspective.
Thank you very much. So I'm wondering if, I can't read the purple, I'm sorry. I know we've got all the colors. Thank you. I might add there as well, just trying to think of timing, we've got 2.5 weeks. I don't know, Mr. Karmazin, if there is the ability to get a third flag in that short period of time, or whether we want to wait until we deal with the non-proclamation on a longer term. What's the pleasure of council? I'm wondering if there's a possibility that we can add to this, that staff investigate the possibility of a third flag for our courtyard area here. There, thank you. Okay, that's fine. It leaves the availability of leaving the town flag up, which I know that some residents will not be happy that a town flag comes down. And that way we might be able to have a win-win. And I'm not sure how long it takes to put up a flag pole, but that would give us enough flexibility within that to have the flag flying here, and it's either out the front or on the side. And we'll see how our timing is with that. Is there anything else we should be covering here at this point? Councillor Crothers?
I'd like to thank everyone for the cooperation on this because we've put together something here that's very comprehensive and is looking for different options in such a short period of time. So I thank you for that. Your most recent comment about people being upset about the municipal flag coming down, I think it brings up an opportunity for education as to why we raise the pride flag and how the pride flag is different than some other groups and the reasons that it is raised. So I think that there is a real opportunity here for our Diversity and Inclusion Committee to maybe at some point have an educational piece for council to have some more information on the reasons we're raising the flag, or perhaps Jacob, when he gets a chance to speak on his correspondence, might help with that. So thank you very much. And I'm pleased to second that.
Okay, any questions on the resolution? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much. I would say to the committee, this is the first report or request that you've put before us with a very short period of time, and it's happened. Don't expect that will happen as quickly or a shorter period of time than this. This is lightning speed. The timing of it was such that we were able to do it. But in many cases, we're government. It takes a long time to change policy and make it happen. So I just wanted to point that out tonight. Okay, I'm down to item H, and that's correspondence for consideration. And we have a correspondence from Jay Gall, Development and Community Relations, York Pride Festival, dated May 4th, requesting support for Pride Week. We've already talked about that. That council waive the proclamation policy, which we have done, and that council grant permission to raise the flag. I'm sorry, that we waive the proclamation policy to proclaim, and that we haven't dealt with. I'm trying to, Mr. Clerk, help me with that. We waived part of our procedure. Did we waive?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that was what I was hinting to earlier, is that you're blending the two correspondences together.
Yeah.
The first resolution that was just passed was with regards to waiving the policy to fly the flag, okay, but it wasn't with regards to proclaiming the week. So you can certainly deal with that in this resolution.
Okay. Comments from council? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I think Mr. Webster was talking about what they do at the region, and it's my understanding their non-proclamation, I think you're saying that we were following their lead on being non-proclamation. They officially recognize Pride Week as opposed to a proclamation. It's official recognition, and I've heard that they've been doing that for quite a number of years. I would suggest if we're following their lead, that the resolution state the council waive the proclamation policy to officially recognize June 7th to 16th, 2019 as Pride Week. Or if we don't need to waive the policy, then just proclaim, officially recognize. Someone more familiar with the policy would have to let me know if that requires a waiving of the policy, but just an official recognition, I think, would be sufficient.
Certainly, through Madam Mayor, I believe, not having the policy in front of me, I believe it did reference that we would follow York Region's lead. So if you want to change that middle clause, that council proclaim June 7th to 16, 2019 as Pride Week, then that would suffice.
Councillor Roy DeClemente.
I think that through the resolution that we just passed moments ago, I think our intent is clear. I don't wish to start debating the semantics of what the region does, whether it's recognizing, proclaiming, what have you. At this point, I think we've sent as clear a message, I think, as we can, which is we want to celebrate it, we want to recognize it. And so at this moment, I think to be clear, I think we should just be receiving the correspondence. We've given it a fulsome debate that we would receive the correspondence, and obviously the letter writer is here. He's heard the discussion today and knows what we're trying to do in the long run. And so whether we start muddling in with our policy without it in front of us, I think that makes it confusing for folks. So move receipt, please.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Foster. All in favor? And that's carried. Second piece of correspondence is from the Honourable Steve Clark, Ministry of the Municipal Affairs and Housing, dated May 15th, 2019, regarding provincially significant employment zone updates. Are there any questions, comments on that? Could I have a motion to receive? Councillor Foster, Councillor Crone? All those in favor? That's carried. There are no resolutions at this time. I have 3 bylaws.
Sorry, Madam Mayor,
Yes.
to interrupt. There are resolutions from earlier today. The first one we'll put up on the screen for you is with respect to the regional government review. It's a rather lengthy resolution, so the amendments that were captured during CWC have been highlighted in yellow for you, just to capture what the intent of the conversation was, and if there's any further amendments, we can make them on the fly.
I have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Roy DeClemente, Councillor Crone.
Can we have a recorded vote, please?
We could have a recorded vote.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Roy DeClemente is requesting a recorded vote on the resolution put up on the screen with regards to the regional government review. Councillor Roy DeClemente, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Crothers, how do you vote?
In favor.
Councillor Crone, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Foster, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Haxon, how do you vote?
Yes.
And the other 2 members are absent. Motion's carried.
Thank you. Do we have a second resolution?
Yes, we do, Madam Mayor, and that is with respect to Bill 108. And again, a lengthy resolution with just some minor amendments from CWC. I believe they are in the action clauses at the bottom, again highlighted in yellow.
Questions, comments? Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Foster, Councillor Crone. Scroll it up.
Sorry, I just wanted to see the clause that referred to our request that I think that the original resolution said that they halt, and we were going to.
Pause.
Right, so to enable fulsome consultation, that's what I was looking for, that we pause it. And the reason why was that we wanted them to give us some more time to recognize the impacts of this omnibus bill. Thank you. And if we could have a recorded vote on this one
Just
as
gonna
well, I
ask.
would appreciate that, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, Councilor Roy Clemente requested recorded vote on the resolution Bill 108. Councilor Roy Clemente, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilor Crothers, how do you vote?
In favor?
Councilor Crone, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilor Foster, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Haxon, how do you vote?
Yes.
The other two members are absent. Motion carried.
Thank you. Do we have a third resolution?
Those are all the resolutions, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. We're at bylaws. We have 3 bylaws. Any questions on any of the bylaws? Have a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Crone, Councillor Crothers, all those in favor, and that's carried. All 3 of them. Do we have any other business at this time? I'm not seeing any. Item L is our confirming bylaw. Moved by Councillor Crone, seconded by Councillor Foster. Questions? All those in favor? That's carried. And we will have an adjournment at 7:47. And that is moved by Councillor Crothers and Councillor Crone. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much for coming out tonight.